The twin moons of Osiris shined softly over the royal palace, but inside the great hall, nothing felt calm. Dozens of alien guards stood in a tight formation, their armor glowing with nervous energy. Advisors whispered, trying to guess why the queen had been called so urgently. Queen Arastra entered with a cold, powerful presence. Every step she took made the hall feel smaller. Her long silver cloak dragged behind her, and her sharp eyes searched the room like she expected betrayal hiding in the shadows. She stopped in front of the royal physician. "You sent an emergency call," she said. "Why?" The physician swallowed hard. "Your Majesty, we found something in the outer garden. Something impossible." Before he could continue, a small, soft sound floated through the air. Goo, goo. Every guard froze. The queen's eyes narrowed. "What was that?" she demanded. Slowly, the physician stepped aside. Behind him floated a glowing cradle, holding two tiny babies. Their skin shined with faint blue color, and their eyes reflected the moon's. But what shocked everyone were the marks on their arms. Royal birthmarks, ones only found in the queen's bloodline. The queen's face, normally like stone, cracked for the first time in years. She stepped closer. "No," she whispered. "This cannot be." The guards exchanged confused looks. Everyone in the kingdom knew the truth. Princess Lyra, the queen's only daughter, was barren. She could not have children. Every healer, every scientist, every ancient ritual had confirmed it. Yet here were two babies with her royal blood. The queen's voice trembled. "Whose children are these?" But before anyone could answer, the palace gate shook violently. Boom! The doors burst open. A human soldier stumbled inside, armor broken, blood on his face. In his arms, he carried Princess Lyra, weak, unconscious, but alive. Gasps filled the hall. The queen's eyes widened. "Lyra..." The soldier fell to his knees, struggling to breathe. She protected them. The babies. His voice cracked. "Enemies attacked us. They wanted the twins." The queen stared at him, confused and angry. "Twins? My daughter cannot have children." The human forced his head up. His voice was soft, but full of truth. "They are her children and mine." Silence hit the hall like a storm. A human father. A barren princess who somehow became a mother. Royal twins that should not exist. The queen stepped closer, her face trembling between rage and shock. A human, gave my daughter what no Zyrith male could," she whispered. The twins made another soft sound. The queen looked at them, at their tiny hands reaching toward her. Something inside her chest cracked open. Fear, confusion, and something dangerous. Hope. Her final words echoed through the silent hall. "Human, what have you done to my bloodline?" The soldiers felt it. The advisors felt it. Even the newborn twins felt it. A storm was coming. The great hall remained frozen as a human soldier knelt on the cold floor. Princess Lyra still in his arms. Queen Arastra's expression no longer showed simple shock. Now it carried something darker. Something dangerous. "Take the princess from him," she commanded. Two guards moved forward, lifting Lyra gently. Her breathing was shallow, her face pale, but there was a faint glow around her, an energy only seen during strong emotional bonds. The queen noticed it, and she hated what it meant. She turned her sharp gaze back to human. "Speak, now. How is my daughter, a barren princess, the mother of twins?" The human wiped blood from his mouth. His voice was steady, even with the entire empire staring at him. "My name is Daniel Ward. I served on the human rescue team, near your borders. We found Princess Lyra trapped under fallen crystal ruins, poisoned by void gas. Everyone said she would die." The queen clenched her jaw, remembering the mission reports. They had assumed Lyra was lost. Daniel continued, "I carried her for 3 days. I gave her my own air supply, my food, my strength. I did not let her sleep, because she would never wake up. She kept saying she had no future, no family, no destiny." Something flickered in the queen's eyes, pain she refused to show. Daniel's voice softened. "But she lived, and over time, she changed. We talked. She laughed. She cried. She touched my hand for the first time and said, "Why does your warmth feel like home?" A wave of whispers spread through the hall. The queen raised her hand, silencing everyone. "You expect me to believe that simple human affection fixed her?" she demanded. Daniel shook his head. "No, love didn't fix her. She fixed herself. Her body awakened. Something inside her rewrote what nature told her. And when the twins formed, her energy reacted in ways your doctors never imagined." The queen stiffened. She knew the ancient legend. A royal child will be born only when the heart chooses a bond stronger than blood. But she refused to believe it. "Impossible," she whispered to herself. As if sensing the tension, one of the babies in the floating cradle began to cry. But Daniel lifted his hand gently. The baby stopped crying instantly. Every alien in the room froze. This should not happen. Xyrath infants only calm when they sense royal energy. Yet this human, this outsider, had soothed the grandchild of the queen with a single gesture. Queen Erastra felt her heart pound, something she had not experienced in decades. She hated that feeling. "Guards," she said coldly, "take him to the lower chambers. He is now under royal investigation. I want every secret, every detail, every truth." Daniel did not resist, but before he was taken away, he looked up at the queen. "I did not break destiny," he said quietly. "Your daughter chose me, and destiny followed her choice." The queen turned away quickly, hiding the storm inside her. But the truth had already taken root. A human had done the impossible, and the kingdom would never be the same again. The palace fell into a strange silence after Daniel was taken away. But the quiet did not last long. The twins, small, glowing, and impossibly powerful, had become the center of the entire empire's fear and curiosity. Queen Erastra stood beside the floating cradle, staring at the babies with a mixture of confusion and calculation. Their tiny hands glowed with faint blue sparks. Their eyes opened and closed slowly, but whenever they looked at the queen, she felt something inside her chest tighten. They were innocent, yet every prophecy warned that royal hybrids would change the future of galaxies. Princess Lyra, still weak but awake now, rested on a medical bed nearby. Her breathing had improved. When she opened her eyes and saw her children, her entire face softened. "They feel scared," she whispered. The queen turned sharply. "How do you know?" Lyra touched her chest. "Because their hearts speak to mine." The queen felt a chill. "You formed a bond?" Lyra nodded softly. "A soul bond. It happened when they were still growing inside me." That word, soul bond, broke every rule in Xyrath law. No royal had ever formed such a connection with a human. It was unthinkable. And yet, it had saved her daughter's life. Before the queen could speak, alarms blasted through the palace. "Wiu, wiu, wiu." Guards rushed in. "Your Majesty." Enemy scanners detected movement outside our shield. The queen's eyes narrowed. "Who dares come here?" The commander's voice shook. "Shadow Claws, Majesty. The assassins of the Void Empire." Gasps filled the hall. Everyone knew them. Creatures that lived in darkness, feeding on rare energy sources. And nothing was more valuable to them than newborn hybrid power. Lyra's voice cracked with fear. "They're here for the twins." Almost on cue, one of the babies began to glow brighter, sensing danger. The light pulsed through the air, making the cradle shake. Queen Erastra stepped forward instantly, protective instincts overpowering her cold nature. "Activate all shields. Prepare the palace for war." But the commander shook his head. "Majesty, they're already inside the inner grounds." The queen's face darkened. "Inside? How?" A guard answered quietly, his voice trembling. "Because someone opened the gates from the inside. A traitor." The queen's blood ran cold. Before she could act, the hall lights flickered. A shadowy figure appeared at the top of the stairs, its body dissolving into smoke, its eyes glowing red. "The twins," it hissed, "will belong to the void." Lyra grabbed the edge of her bed. "Mother, protect them." The queen summoned her energy, a bright blue flame forming in her hands. But before she struck, the shadow assassin suddenly froze. Its gaze turned slowly toward the throne. toward the place beneath the platform, where Daniel, still chained, was now standing. His eyes were glowing the same blue color as the twins. The queen felt her heartbeat stop. "What are you?" Daniel didn't answer. He simply stepped forward, chains dragging on the floor, and said, "You want the twins? You will go through me first." The hall erupted in chaos. The war for the children had begun. Chaos filled the royal hall. Guards rushed in from every door, weapons glowing, while the shadow assassin stretched its dark claws toward the twins. The cradle shook violently as the babies cried, their mixed energy reacting to the threat. Queen Arastra raised her hand, forming a burning blue shield around her daughter and the twins. But her eyes stayed locked on Daniel, the human who should have been helpless, yet stood with chains glowing around his wrists like they were nothing. "How did you break your restraints?" the queen demanded. Daniel didn't look at her. His eyes stayed focused on the assassin. "I didn't break them," he said calmly. "Your grandchildren did." The chains around him vibrated, lit with the same soft blue glow as the twins' markings. Lyra gasped, "Mother." The twins are connected to him. They feel his strength. The queen's mind raced. If the soul bond was true, then the human wasn't just their father. He was their protector by nature, by biology, and maybe even by prophecy. But she had no time to think. The assassin charged. Swish! A wave of darkness rushed toward Daniel, trying to slice him apart. He moved with surprising speed, rolling aside and blocking the attack with his chained wrists. The impact exploded into sparks, sending shockwaves through the hall. The queen's eyes widened. No human should survive that. Daniel turned, breathing hard but unbroken. "I never asked for this power," he said. "But if it keeps them safe, I'll use it." Another assassin emerged from the shadows. Two more crawled along the ceiling. The Void Empire wanted the twins desperately. One guard shouted, "Majesty, we can't hold them all." Queen Arastra knew the truth. This wasn't just a small attack. It was a test. A message. The Void Empire had learned about the twins, and they wanted royal hybrid blood to reshape the galaxy. The queen stepped forward, blue energy burning like fire around her hands. "You will not touch my family," she declared, voice echoing like thunder. Her power blasted one assassin across the room. Daniel shielded Lyra from another blow. The twins' cradle glowed brighter and brighter, reacting to both of them. "Mother," Lyra cried, "we cannot win if you and Daniel fight separately. You must trust him." The queen froze. Trust a human? Trust a man who changed her royal bloodline? Trust someone she wanted to execute just hours earlier? But the hall shook as another explosion hit the palace walls. The cradle nearly tipped over. One twin screamed, and the lights flickered blue. The queen's heart cracked open. She had no choice. She turned to Daniel. "For this moment, we fight as one." Daniel nodded. "For them." Their energies merged in the center of the hall, blue flame and human strength swirling into a single shield around the twins. The assassins hissed, stepping back. They could not break that combined force. But before victory came, the queen realized a true danger. This alliance, this bond, meant the human was no longer expendable. He was necessary. To her daughter, to the twins, to the royal future. And her empire would not like that. Not at all. For the first time in many years, the royal palace felt alive. Not with order, but with fear and battle. The queen and Daniel fought side by side, forming a shield around the newborn twins. Every time an assassin struck, the combined energy pushed them back, brighter and stronger. But even with the shield, the queen knew something terrible. This was only the beginning. The Void Empire never sent small groups. If assassins were inside the palace, a full invasion could be moments away. Princess Lyra weakly pulled herself up, watching her mother and Daniel fight. The bond between the twins and Daniel glowed like a heartbeat in the air. Lyra whispered, "Mother, do you see it now?" The queen didn't answer. Not yet, but she felt it, deep, painful, undeniable. The twins cried again, their voices echoing like soft bells. Their fear stabbed at the queen's chest. She turned, heart shaking. She had lived through wars, betrayal, and the loss of her king. She thought, Nothing in the universe could surprise her again. But two tiny children, her grandchildren, had shattered her cold armor in seconds. A blast shook the hall. More assassins fell. The queen grabbed the cradle and pulled it close to her chest, her movements no longer royal or controlled, just protective. Daniel stepped beside her, breathing hard. "They won't stop," he warned. "They will send more." The queen looked down at the babies. Their glowing markings pulsed softly. Their tiny hands reached toward her as if they knew her. She had never expected this moment, never believed she could feel something so gentle again. But the truth burned deeply now. She loved them, not because they carried royal blood, not because they fulfilled a prophecy, but because they were alive, fragile, and hers. Lyra whispered, tears in her eyes, "Mother, please say something." Queen Arastra exhaled slowly, a sound that carried years of pain and pride. "I do not understand how they exist," she admitted in a trembling voice, "but they are my blood, and I will burn every empire in the galaxy before I lose them." Daniel stared at her, shocked. This was not the cold ruler he had first met. This was a grandmother. A guard rushed in. "Majesty, scouts report void warships surrounding our orbit." Lyra gasped. "They want the twins for their experiments." Daniel clenched his fists. "We can't let them take the children." The queen turned sharply to her commander. "Prepare the Sky Fortress. Evacuate civilians. No one touches these children." Another explosion shook the palace. Walls cracked. Dust fell like snow. The queen turned to Daniel, eyes sharp and burning. "You kept my daughter alive. You protected the twins. Now, protect them again." Daniel nodded. "With my life." The queen hesitated, then spoke the words she never imagined she would say. "You are not a threat to my bloodline. Human. You are part of it." Lyra gasped. Daniel froze. The twins glowed brighter. But there was no time to process the shock. A massive shadow fell across the hall as the roof cracked open. A giant void warlord descended, eyes blazing with hunger. "Give me the royal hybrids," it roared, "and your deaths will be fast." The queen stepped forward, her power igniting the entire hall. "You will not touch my family." The final war had arrived. The roof of the palace tore open as the void warlord crashed into the hall. 7 feet tall, made of black armor and living shadows. His red eyes locked instantly on the glowing cradle. "The hybrids," he growled. "They belong to the void." Every guard stepped back in fear. Even the assassins from earlier knelt before him. But Queen Arastra did not move. Daniel stood beside her, breathing hard, bruised. Chain marks still burned into his skin. Lyra, weak but brave, held onto the wall, refusing to look away from her children. This was no longer a fight for the kingdom. This was a fight for their family. The warlord raised his arm. A dark energy sphere formed, crackling with deadly power. "Step aside, queen," he commanded. "Even you cannot fight destiny." But the queen stepped forward, her voice shaking the hall. "I do not fight destiny," she said. "I protect it." She unleashed her royal energy, blue flames roaring so bright the shadows screamed and pulled back. Daniel shielded the cradle as energy shook the entire room. The warlord charged. Boom, boom, boom. Every step cracked the marble floor. His claws swung toward the cradle. But Daniel moved first. He blocked the attack with his bare arms. Pain shot through him, but he didn't fall. His eyes glowed the same blue color as his children. The warlord sneered. "A human? Standing against me?" Daniel pushed back with everything inside him. "I'm not just human," he said. "I'm their father." A burst of blue light exploded between them, throwing the warlord backward. The energy didn't come from Daniel alone, it came from the twins. The babies floated slightly in the cradle, glowing brighter with each heartbeat. Lyra whispered softly, "They're helping him. They're helping their father." For the first time, the warlord looked uncertain. "You cannot control that power," he hissed. "They are unstable." The queen's eyes narrowed. "No, they are stronger than you ever imagined." With a powerful sweep of her arm, she launched a blast of royal fire. Daniel followed with a punch that shook the ground. The twins' combined glow created a shockwave that wrapped around all three of them. The family fought as one. The warlord roared in anger. Impossible. No bond can be this strong. Daniel shouted back, "You don't understand family." The final explosion filled the hall. Blue light swallowing the shadows, shaking the palace from foundation to roof. The warlord screamed as his body broke apart, dissolving into dust. Silence fell. Then the babies giggled. The queen exhaled, knees trembling, tears forming in her eyes. She had not felt tears in years. Lyra stumbled forward. Daniel rushed to catch her, holding her gently as she looked at their children with pure love. The queen approached slowly. The twins reached out to her tiny hands glowing like stars. She touched them, and for the first time in her life, Queen Erastra smiled. She looked at Daniel, the human she once hated. "You protected what even royal soldiers could not," she said softly. "You are family now. My empire will protect you too." Daniel bowed his head. "I will protect them always." Lyra whispered, "Mother, thank you." The queen nodded. The galaxy has changed today, and it began with two small children. Outside the palace, the clouds parted. The sky glowed light blue, the same color as the newborn's energy. A new royal era had begun. A family no one expected. A destiny no one could stop.